Are you ready to be inspired? To hear an incredible story about self-love, perseverance, and community impact? Then you're in the right place. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Festo Mjogolo. Festo, it's such a pleasure to have you on my podcast, Micro Moments of Self-Love. Thank you. Thank you for honoring me today, for doing it so last minute, for coming on this podcast. And, I just want to start off by saying that, I meet a lot of people in my life, and I think that for me, you shared your stories with me and you shared where you came from and where you are. But it wasn't just that has that has inspired me. I think it's just your aura and your ability to be so composed and your ability to shine your heart that has really inspired me. And this is one of the main reasons why I've called you to my podcast. So it's for me, it's not so much about the accolades, which are amazing, by the way. You've accomplished so much, but it's just your energy. It's so beautiful, and I just thought I would start off by saying that. So thank you so much for being on my podcast, for being my guest, and thank you for making it so easy for me.
Well, thank you so much. Myself, I'm very honored to get this chance to personally get to meet you and talk to you and understand what kind of person you are, which most of the time, most people cannot see it. It's honestly difficult sometimes to get a platform that you get a chance to get recognized by people and let them understand what kind of person you are and stuff like that. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. I'm very intrigued because people they know me online, and then there are people who get to meet me in person. So what was your impression of me after you had a conversation with me? Because I know you've been following me on social media for some time. So was it the same or was it different, or what was your like impression of me when you met me?
That's such a good question. Actually, I was amazed personally, and I would say there's very high percentage of people out there that don't know what kind of person you are, and I was really amazed by all the success that you have, and get to know your personality and understand deeply what kind of person you are, which is it's something that you can always see it from people that are way less successful. But hearing all this stuff from a person like you, that was actually amazing, and I was wowed by just get to know what kind of person you are.
Thank you, Pastor. Thanks a lot. One of the things that really helped me connect to you was because of you. I think that we have the same perspective in life, and I think yesterday when I was sharing the story of Jesus, or in Islam you say Prophet Isa, and how he had gone through so many tribulations in life, and there was a time that a person was abusing him, and he kept abusing him and kept abusing him, but he kept being so loving to that person and so kind to that person. And a man asked him that, why are you being so loving and kind to somebody who's constantly abusing you? And his answer was that my heart only has good in it, that it only has love. So the only thing that can come out is love. Right? And I think, right? And I think that that's so beautiful in the sense that when we talk about a sense of self-love, that sometimes it's not about the circumstances, it's about your perspective towards the circumstance and how you best deal with it.
That's very correct. Actually, it just reminded me in the Bible. Actually, I'm a Christian, and in the Bible, there's a point. Actually, you can read that scripture in Matthew 22. Verses 36 to 40, which talks about there's a guy who asked Jesus, like, what law is more powerful compared to what you have learned during the time of Moses. And Jesus told them that you should love your God with all your mind, all your heart, and all your soul. And he said again, there's a second love which is equally greater, equals to this law, which says, love your neighbors as you love yourself. So actually, if anyone puts love first, and I think most of the stuff will be accomplished in the world. So love is the great thing for most of us to have.
And love, and most importantly, I feel like self-love. When you learn to love yourself and you fill yourself with only goodness, then it's in the times of difficulty only that comes out, right? And I think that's the most important part. So getting into the questions, I'm so interested because I know your story and it's so inspiring, and where you were and where you are now. I want to know, what are some of the early childhood experiences that has shaped your worldview and who you are now and what you've become?
It's actually a lot of stuff that happened to me in my life, in my childhood life, that made me became the person that I am right now. But the biggest thing that actually happened and really shaped me is the death of my father. So actually, the crazy part about it is that few weeks before he passed away, it was around June 2008. One time he came back from work and he told me, on July 5th, to be my birthday. And where we live is right next to a football pitch. Yeah. So he told me, during my birthday, a lot of people will come. They will fill the whole football pitch just to celebrate my birthday, And actually what happened during his birthday, he passed away that morning around 5 a.m. And what happened the night before is that he came back from work as usual with his stomach ache, and then he told my mom that he's sick and he wanted to see all of his children. And I came from a family of 6 people, actually 6 children, and my mom and my dad. So all the 5 children went to see my dad, except me. I wasn't home. I came back home around 8 p.m. and my mom told me that your dad is sick. He wants to see you. All of your siblings, they already went and talked to him. You can go now. And I told her, is he really sick? She said, he is sick. And I said, okay, it's already very late. I cannot just go to his room at 8 p.m. Why can't I just meet him tomorrow? And I'll talk to him. So I left, and at that night, I was given a job to watch over my aunt's house. So I went there to sleep with my 2 friends, actually my best friends, my best childhood friends. And then in the morning, around 6 a.m., my sister came knocking to my aunt's house, which is close to our house, and she said, your young brother is trying to wake up your dad, but your dad is not responding. I think he passed away. And I said, no, that cannot be possible. So I went back to his room, and I used to know that if someone is passed away, the first part of your body that gets cold is your feet. So I touched him on his feet and it was cold. And at that moment I knew that he passed away. So from that moment, what I've learned in life is that, which actually shaped the way I am right now, is don't take for granted the chance that you get to spend with your loved ones. You never know when or what time, what will happen, I used to think that if you love a person so much, you can have the ability to make them live forever, or at least you can pass away just before them. But actually, that's not the truth. So from that moment, I've learned that you need to make sure you talk to people, you have a very good relationship with them, help them when they need. You never know when will be the last time you talk to them. That's why when I talked to you yesterday, I told you the reason why I came down here is because my mom called me, and that's the same promise I gave myself, because I said I did this mistake with my dad, but I'm very sure I won't repeat it again with my mom. So if my mom calls me for whatever reason, she's not sick or she's just whatever, she just wants to see me and have the ability, I will show up. So
what I find very amazing is that, it's almost like you took that and you have now change your perspective on life. Like, I know that you work hard and I know that you have a job in America and you have a family there, right? But it's almost like now you have taken into account that, look, this is something I don't want to do again, and for me relationships are so important, right? And I always, I've been known to be someone who works so much, but if you ask me what is the single most important thing in life, it is building the right relationships.
That's
right.
Right.
I tell people that even if you are somebody who only cares about your work, that being kind and being good to people is good for business.
That's true.
Because you have to, this life is all about who you've touched and how much you've loved and what kind of difference you've made in this world.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I think that, of course, there's people, you have commitments to your work, you have commitments to things around you, but I think that the biggest commitment should be to building the right kind of relationships, right?
That's true.
I think that what's interesting is that we both spoke about the way we were raised, and you mentioned that, you grew up from quite an unprivileged background,
Yeah, that's true.
Is there anything sometimes, you think to yourself, man, like, I miss that. I wish I could go back to that being unprivileged, and maybe, there's something about it that you miss.
Okay. Oh well, that's another good one question. Yes, of course, I do miss a lot of stuff, and whoever that came up with that phrase says, we came from humble beginnings. They really mean it. Yeah. Because so the most thing that I've missed from my underprivileged background is the social bonds that we had and all the relationship we had. We used to treat each other very good. The reason for that was we were poor. You don't know when you will need what, and you'll be with what person. So at the end of the day is you have to try to do as much as you can to make sure the society look good at you. Yeah. So we used to treat each other really well, helping each other, go playing together. If anything happens, you do it. And even if it's sometimes you don't really feel like you need to contribute on this stuff, you'll be like, I have to, because maybe tomorrow it will be my time, and then I will ask for such kind of help. So you usually get prepared for anything. So I would say the social bonds that I had before and the relationship that we had during my childhood is the most important thing that I always wish I could have. Even when I go to US, sometimes I feel like, let me just go home. I want to see and get synchronized with the childhood relationship that I had with my people that I used to grow up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's because I also lived in the US, and I feel like it's a very isolated community. It's a very isolated culture. Like, our culture here is very different. Everybody, whether it's the Indian culture or the Tanzanian culture, and of course, like, I grew up in both, and both of them are very committed to community and family, and when you're in the US, everybody's very isolated. So how was that transition for you? Because I'm sure that you grew up in a very big family, and then now you're in the US, and it's like, everybody, it's like to each their own,
Yeah, such a good question. So actually, it was really tough during the first few months that we were there. But as you start catching up to speed with the school and all the work that the school demands you to do, then you get so busy, and then you just start feel the life it's just a normal thing.
Do you feel like you're living a conscious life there, or a very robotic life? And I want you to be honest, because look, to live a conscious life is also something that is it's what do they call it? The word is like it's something that very few people get to do, because everyone has to work, and it's a privilege to be able to live a conscious life, you know. But do you feel like a lot of times when you're there, like how do you manage to be conscious of your days there? Because, you know, it's very much routine, you know, it's you know, you're not really surrounded by too many people. So how do you try to live consciously when you're over there?
So okay, so the good thing about, at least for me, this is my personal view.
Yeah.
The good thing of being in the US, I would say, your employer actually, will try to do as much as they can to make sure you have a work-life balance. So sometimes they'll force you to take off if you're not taking off, or if you have an emergency, they will tell you, you know, like for example, when I wanted to come down here, my boss says you can go and take as much time as you want, you know. Go there, we can work remotely, you know. Don't make decisions of your family based on the kind or the amount of work that you need to do. So you should be free to do whatever you want. And me personally, apart from our employer being trying to make sure we have the work-life balance, myself, I try as much as I can to make sure I get enough time to spend with my family, you know. But there's some people that they just love to work and they'll do all the work all the time. But for me, I love to keep it simple and maintain the work-life balance.
Festo, you know, I think one thing that I find very interesting is that you're very composed. You know, I get that vibe from you, that you're very composed, and I'm sure you've been put in situations where you've been tested and your composure has been tested. So maybe can you tell me a little story of, like, you know, maybe what situation you were in, and, you know, how you maintained your composure, and why do you maintain your composure?
I personally believe everyone is getting tested in their lifetime at some points, and we only differ on how we respond to those situations. So for me personally, when I get tested or when I'm at high pressure situations, I usually try as much as possible to gather whatever any information that I could learn out of that, and then moving forward, if anything that is happening to me and it's related to my past situation that was putting me in this high pressure situation, I can use it to make sure that I'm calm and make sure that I do stuff in the right manner. So that's usually my very strategic point of view that I usually follow. But I'll just give you one example that I was being put under pressure, and the only thing that I wanted to do was different from others' point of view. And that was when I was in form 3, you know, in our NECTA education system. When you're in form 3 is when you need to decide whether you want to take science subjects, arts, or go to business subjects. And then me and my friends, we decided to go and take science subjects. And when we did that, the class that we went, everyone wanted to to excel in what they were doing. But there's a lot of people that took science subject, but they were not doing very good. So most of them, they wanted help. And I love to sit with whoever I want, and whoever wants help, I'll just sit with them and then try to help them out. And my friends would be like, no, you cannot sit and talk to everyone. You cannot sit and help anyone you want. It's just a waste of energy, and, you know, this has to stop. You have to choose few people and then work with them. So with that, I looked into big picture. That's why I said the way I decided to compose myself is to look into big picture of what I'm doing, what is the outcome of what I'm doing, and what I love to do is just helping people. So I decided to choose to help them, and just I don't care if they didn't like it or not, but that's what I did.
Yeah. It's because, you know, they say that we discussed this, like, if you know yourself, you know your God, right?
Yeah.
And I think the thing is that sometimes, you know, people find people who know themselves very intimidating, because they know who they are and they know what they want from their life, you know. And I think that this obviously foreshadows the work you're doing now at that time. Like now you're working with your NGO, you know, and you're trying to help, you're still trying to help people, right? And you know, it's very fascinating because we even had, you even told me a story of how you were at the bank and you on the phone and somebody came up to you, the police came up to you, or the security guard, sorry, and he said, you know, please, you know, what are you doing? You're on the phone. And you instantly apologized, right? And you know, I think that the reason why I find that wonderful is because in a world where there's so much reactivity, everybody wants to react negatively, everybody wants to make a statement, everybody wants to fight. Why did you choose that day when you were at the bank to say, you know, I'm very sorry, and you know, please, like, forgive me if, you know, I didn't do it on purpose? Why did you do that when it's easier to say, well, you know, what was the need for you to tell me off to the security guard?
That's a very tricky question as well. I'll try to answer it very short. When I go anywhere and I meet with any person, I try as much as I could to treat them or see them like me. So that watchman, the security guard at the bank, it is his duty to make sure everyone that is coming to get service inside the bank, they will follow the protocol. Yeah. And one of the protocol, I didn't obey on it because I forgot, you know. So I received a call, I started talking, and the guy came to me and told me, you know, we do not talk in the bank. Yeah. So I said sorry, I went outside, I finished my call, and then I came inside, and I went to where he was, and then I started apologizing. The reason why I decided to apologize is because I didn't want him to feel that at the first place I choose to disrespect him, knowing he's there, and I know maybe you're not supposed to talk, and I decided to talk on the phone. So I wanted to make the atmosphere clear. So I went and I talked to him, and he was actually surprised. He told me, oh man, you came to apologize to me? You know, some people, you talk to people and then they choose to ignore you, or they get mad at you and all that. So situation will be even worse than what you did, but I appreciate you what you did for me. And when I went back to where I was sitting, then the guy on my right was actually asking me, who are you? You're going to talk to a security guard and stuff. So I was surprised, and I was like, this is how we're supposed to live. Yeah.
You know, I constantly talk about this concept of killing your ego before you die. And I think that is a really good example, because, you know, the problem with human beings are that another person could have been in your position and gotten upset, and then it would have messed up their entire day, because now that energy is fueled up, and you know, they've just abused somebody, or they've gotten angry, and then that, you know, it's so much negative energy, and it would have messed up the rest of the day. But I think that you it's almost like you turned everything around in such a positive manner, you know, and that is truly a practice of self-love. I think that if many of us take a second, so you know what I do these days, because I will be very honest, I used to be highly reactive before, and it's something that I struggle with, because I grew up in an environment where, you know, my dad is a very high intensity person. I grew up with a schedule that was very high intensity, and it's something that is there until today, right? So I had to teach my body and my mind to slow down. So these days, when I'm being tested, like you, I have to take a step back physically. I have to take a step back, do a little bit of breathing, and then go back into the situation. And I feel so powerful, because I think that self-love is being able to control your emotions, and to be able to, and by control, I don't mean that you're suppressing, but I mean that you are teaching yourself that, you know, you don't need to be manipulated by everything around you, that it's important sometimes to be able to reset yourself, and then deal with the situation in the best possible way for you and for others, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and you know, God says, he says, I love the one that dies 70 times in a day for me. And what does that mean? It means that you are fighting your soul constantly just to get closer to the divine love, right? And I just wanted to say that, that is something that I find that, that is a true essence of good character, because you are now very self-aware and you're taking responsibility for your life, right? You're not at the mercy of the things around you to react as you please.
That's
right?
correct.
Yeah. And I feel like, how do you feel that kind of attitude has served you? Do you feel like it's helped you become who you are? How has it helped you, maybe even in your life, in your relationships, in your work life? How has that helped you?
Actually, this is a very good questions that you've asked me again. And I'll tell you one thing, that what I usually do in my life is to make sure I do anything that I'm passionate about, because I believe there is nothing that is so rewarding that to do what you actually like to do. And most of people don't know this, and in so many cases they will just do stuff just because they have to do it. For example, when people go to college, they will say, I'm not going to do this because maybe I want to be a doctor, but actually not a doctor is not a good example. They'll say, I really want to be a teacher and teach some art subject or some similar stuff, and then he or she finds that he won't get the support from the government. Then they will decide to choose whatever they can get support, and then they can go do it. So those people, they'll end up in life doing stuff that they actually don't like it, but at the end of the day, it's because of the decision that they've decided to make to do in their life. So for me, I personally choose to go and do whatever that I feel like it's something that I really like to do in my life. Okay. Yeah.
And you feel like being composed and being calm has served you? You feel like it's helped you in any way? In your relationships, in your life, like how has it helped you?
So I would say it helped me a lot, because if you love what you do and you're very passionate to do it, you'll always do it right all the time. And every time, for me, I always wanted to be a civil engineer, and now I work like one. I always wanted to help people, and now I try as much as I can to help people. So we'll see. People will be asking me, where do you get all this time to do all this stuff? And I'll tell them, it's what I like to do.
They call it the flow state, when you're in a state of flow, because it's like not only does the universe conspire to make everything that you're supposed to that you want to do and you're passionate about to happen, but it's also because it's effortless, because it's not coming from your authentic self. It's not coming from like a sense of force or a sense of negativity. It's coming from just who you are and how you want to go about your life, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Correct.
It's interesting because you mentioned that you're an engineer. Do you feel like it's influenced the way that you live your life or the way you make decisions? Because with me, sometimes I'm being told that, I always tend to market things. Even if it's like sometimes I'm meeting my friends, it just comes so naturally to me when I'm like talking, because I'm a marketer, that I wonder if it influences the way that you live your life or the decisions you make.
Okay. I used to think that it does, but that is because in most situations I get to hear that from the people that are surrounding me. They usually tell me, you're always on time, you do your stuff very organized, you're systematic. And sometimes I'll just be, oh wow, this me, or this just sugarcoating stuff. And sometimes you actually find the truth that this is actually who you are, because I might be going out with somebody and then I might tell them, I'll pass by your house at this time, be ready. And then by the time I'm there, that person is not ready. And then you just have to wait them and then see like, why would people do such kind of thing and stuff like that? But I would say it's true that most of the stuff I do, I like to be very organized. I like to plan whatever that I want to do before I can do it. And I can give you a very good example. Today I was meeting with some people from a bank, and then I was discussing with them some ideas that I have, and then they were telling me to do the idea that, in my point of view, I thought they were too beyond my capabilities. Yeah. So I told them I'd rather do what I think I'm comfortable with right now, because I won't be happy if I'll decide to go with this project and at the end of the day it failed. So they told me, maybe you're so pessimistic, and I'm trying to give you the optimistic point of view, which I think it is very possible to do. And I told them, yes, it is very possible to do, but I need to sit down, analyze the situation, and make sure I know all the risk and what it takes to make sure that if you do this project, it will sustain itself in the future. Because I don't want to start a certain project and then keep finding different way to fund it. I like to create some sort of ecosystem where you can put a project out there, and once you finish the project can take care of itself in the long run. Yeah.
So, do you feel like that's hindered maybe sometimes where there's big opportunities and maybe the risk is big? And this is I'm just curious, because you are somebody who weighs everything quite well. Do you feel like sometimes maybe you feel like you've missed opportunities where the risk is quite big, but maybe the reward is also big, but, you've missed out on it because of this perspective?
Yes, I do. But I don't regret.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't regret, because at the end of the day, what I want to do or what I want to have is that peace of mind and be proud of myself of what I've achieved. So if the risk is big and the reward is big, and I choose not to do it because I feel bottom down in my heart that it might not end well, then I'd rather quit it. And then I do regret some. I don't regret, but
you think about it.
Yeah, I think about it. Yeah. Yes, that's a good way to put it.
So it seems like for you, much like for me, peace of mind is very important, right?
That's true.
I wonder, before you go to sleep, is there maybe something you do to because we all go through moments during the day that can be challenging. Do you practice anything maybe at the end of the day where you kind of delete your system in your mind and just get rid of the day's difficulties or challenges, or do you do any practice?
So I don't know if that is practice, but most of the time when I go to bed, I usually analyze what I've achieved during a day, what I did wrong, what I did right, and if there's any way that I can improve myself, I usually choose to do that. So that is what I do, and I don't know if that is practicing, but
it is. I think accountability is something that we are lacking. I mentor a lot of youth, and actually I'm not even going to talk about youth myself. A couple of years ago, I was living on such autopilot that I couldn't even remember what I ate at that day, because it was just one thing after another. My day was so busy, and there was no peace of mind. And I started practicing exactly what you do, which is at the end of the day, I would think about my day. I would try and recall what I did, how I felt, how I treated people, how the day went, what was difficult for me. And I realized that it's so important to be mindful, right? Because that is what makes a human being, is accountability.
That's true.
Right? And so, I think even if it is just that, staying accountable, because sometimes I see nowadays on social media, everybody's like, oh, you have to journal, and then you have to meditate, and you have to pray. And by the way, I do try to integrate as much as I can, because I have to teach my body. If I don't forcefully teach my body to slow down, it will end up becoming very my nervous system will get dysregulated. So I have to do it. But now it's become a very good practice for me to do it. So I do a little bit of breathing and I do the yoga, but it's not forced anymore. I enjoy it. It was forced at the beginning, I enjoy it, but I feel like it's very important because it does keep you accountable to yourself, and that is the key, right? That's self-love, accountability, right? Because otherwise we become victims of our circumstances.
That's very true.
Right?
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So, speaking of self-love, I would be really interested to know if there was a moment in your life where there was a micro moment of self-love that got you through, maybe something that was difficult in your life.
Yeah. So first of all, I have to point out that the most difficult situation that I've ever encountered in my life is the death of my father. And what made me overcome the situation is the love that I felt after how my dad's twin brother treated us, who, by the way, passed away about 4 years after his death. So there's this phrase that says, if you want to change the world, start off by making out your bed, right?
Yeah.
So with that, what I usually think is, from the act that my daddy's twin brother did to us, is the bed for me is like the family level. So for him, he was successful. He had his family to take care of, and he could even decided to just finish the funeral and then leave, go home, right? And don't ever look back at us, because we actually didn't have anything to offer back to him. But instead, he was talking to us, and specifically me, and he was telling me that, I look exactly like your dad. I talk exactly like your dad. Don't ever feel that you have lost your dad.
Okay.
I'm here for you. And he treated us really well. And from all the acts that he showed us, I learned that you don't have to help people just because you're expecting something in return from them. So you can always just choose to help people regardless of the situation they are in. And from that kind of love and appreciation that I had from how he treated us, I think that made me pretty much become who I am right now. Yeah.
Sometimes we don't realize how much of an impact we have on the ripples of self-love that then go into making other people live their life, right? And how they will live their life, yeah? Today, we don't know, maybe if he was harsh to you, it would have affected your worldview, right? But because he was so wonderful to you, you are able to now be so wonderful to other people, and kind of express that love to other people, right? And that moves me to my next point, which is your foundation, right? Upendo Kwanza. I was so inspired by the story because you grew up in a very humble household, got a scholarship, went to a school in Arusha, and then got a scholarship, went to the United States to study, did really well, and then you got a job that is now sponsoring you to stay in the United States, right? And you could have just ended life there, right? Because you've made it, right? You've made it. You've done great things. You've made it by just helping yourself, which is, by the way, it is enough, right? But I think that because of your personality, because of these experiences you've mentioned of your self-love and how people have been so kind to you, you started this organization. So I'm going to ask you to please tell me a short story of what inspired you to do this.
Wow, thank you so much for the question. I wasn't expecting this. So actually, you're right that after I finished my secondary level, I passed my exam, my national exam, and went to advanced level to a school in Arusha called Kisimiri, and it's right behind the Mount Meru. And my life there was okay, not too bad. And as I told you earlier, that I didn't know I was poor until I got exposed to a different life scenario that I experienced, especially in the US. And I believe, okay, we were poor. So when I was in Kisimiri, I was able to witness the hardship that those children were facing. The school is kind of remote, and at the time that I was there was no any house in the neighborhood. And the funny thing is, the school didn't even have a fence, but no one will leave the school campus because there's absolutely nowhere to go. So the students, the neighborhood students there, they will walk a very long journey to go to school, to go back to home. Sometimes they'll come to school very late, and sometimes they'll get punished. That's okay. They're trying to teach them to be accountable. But anyway, and sometimes they'll go home really late, and they'll get home, they'll find that there's no one there to make sure they get what they want. So they'll have to go and fetch water. They'll just have to start cooking for themselves and again start preparing themselves for school tomorrow. And that could be midnight, or maybe they'll have to wake up around 3 a.m. because they have to work about 3 hours or so to come to school and make sure they get there early. So I was able to connect with these children, and I understand what they're going through. And I was able to talk a lot to most of them, but we didn't have a phone. At least I could record some moment with them. Anyway, that was fun. But after I left there, I promised myself if I will ever get a chance to do something for these kids, I will definitely do it. So I got the scholarship. I went to the US. I did my master's degree in civil engineering at a university called University of North Florida. And after that, I got a job with a company called Arcadis. It's a very big company. It's an international company. They liked the kind of work I did, and they decided to sponsor me. And after that, I moved to a different company. It's called Osiris 9. Now I'm working with some wonderful people there. And all that didn't stop me from thinking about these children, because now I can take care of myself and I'm okay. But I say, this is the time that I need to start doing something for this kid. So I started helping them personally, but I thought it was not enough. I need to do something for them, which is bigger. And when I'm gone, there'll be some foundation that can make sure they'll continue to get the help they need. So I did my research, and what I found that could be the best thing to do could be starting a non-profit organization. So I looked into the requirement that they wanted, and I found that we need to have 4 board members with at least 2 female and 2 male. So I reached out to my friend, one of the friends that now he used to work with Google. Now he's working with a different company. He's more interested into artificial intelligence. And another, his name is Samuel Makubi. And another girl, her name is Cecilia Kadeha. She now works with the World Bank. And by the way, she just graduated with a PhD from Florida International University a few weeks ago. So she's a doctor right now. And also we do have...
You call her doctor?
She's of course, I call her doctor. She deserves it. Yeah, and we have another doctor in the board of directors. Her name is Jacqueline Masaki. She also got her PhD from a university called Florida State University. And now she's back to help our country. She's working as a doctor. She's teaching traffic engineering at the University of Dar es Salaam here. And actually, I will go next Friday to help as a guest lecturer to teach her students how to do some modeling stuff, so which will be really good. Yeah, so I talked to all the other 3 people. We are 4 right now. They love the idea and they said, let's do it. Then we started the process, and ever since we are here. So right now we have the first project as the Kisimiri project, because that's the place I wanted to help first. And we will continue to help them as long as we are able to. And the approach that we want to do is we don't want to help people and just forget them. So we want to make sure we help them throughout their academic career. So we'll help them from when they're in secondary school, when they go to advanced, and hopefully they might get some support from the government when they go to to do their bachelor's degree. But after that, we'll still keep in touch with them, and if there's any way we can help them after that, we'll be able to do that. We are planning to make sure we keep record of all the children that we'll be supporting. We'll try to make sure we have a very well documented information about what impact us as Upendo Kwanza influence in their lives, like tracking their previous academic records and what is the achievement after we have started helping them. And hopefully our goal is that we're expecting that once they become or get the opportunity like what we have right now, they will go back and touch their community like how we do to them. And by the way, I didn't say the mission of my nonprofit organization. So actually what we do is we are trying to provide access to quality education to underprivileged children, especially in the rural setting. And we'll do that by providing them with necessary support that they need, especially stationery. We'll give them after class tutoring through the company we partnered with. It's called Silabu, which is doing really good right now. And we'll do a bunch of stuff for them that I'm pretty sure it will have an impact on how they view the education and how they receive the education right now. Yeah.
You know, I think one thing that I feel stands out is that you mentioned you're not there to help everybody. You want to change lives one micro moment at a time, you know? And I think that what a beautiful story, you know. You came from that part, you know, somebody helped you through love, and now you're doing the same thing and you're helping other people, and it's creating a ripple effect. And I just want to say that, you know, to the people who are listening, you know, I think there's so much more can be done when we love than when we are angry or when we hate, you know. And I feel like there's so much. It's not only just good for us, it's good for other people, you know. And I think the more interactions of love we have, and I think it all starts with us, we can make such huge changes, and you are one example of that, you know.
Thank you.
And you know, I'm truly inspired by you, honestly, Festo. You are amazing. You're an amazing human being. I think that you're doing so much to serve yourself, to serve your family, to serve your community. And you know, we need more people like you, you know, who are willing to put in the work, but also do it with so much charisma and with such good character, you know.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. It is really a pleasure. We're gonna move on to the rapid fire round to make things a little bit light. So what the round is that I'm gonna ask you 10 questions, and you have 10 seconds to answer every question. And it's just quick, you know. And yeah, it's just this will just show a little bit of your personality. What's the one thing you've always wanted to learn but haven't had the chance to?
Being a doctor.
Okay.
Yes.
You would have wanted to be a doctor?
Yes.
Okay. What's the last thing you do before you sleep?
Pray.
Okay. If you could have any career other than the current one, what would it be?
So if I wouldn't be doing civil engineering, right? What I'll be doing will be helping some community out there. Yes.
Not a football player?
That as well. Yeah.
If you could eat only one food for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
I'd rather go with meat and rice for the rest of my life.
Which fast food do you like the most in the US? Like which chain?
I'll say Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A?
I love it. Yeah.
I love Chipotle.
Oh,
I love Chipotle.
So Chipotle, I don't consider it as a fast. I wanted to tell Chipotle because that's actually my favorite. And honestly, I'm not even kidding if you ask anyone, even my boss, or even I have even text here. The last time we went for data collection with our new employee in our office, I asked him, what do you want to eat for lunch? And they said, I'm not eating too much, so I don't know, you can choose. And then I picked Chipotle. And then we went to Chipotle, and I took some screenshots, some pictures, and sent it to my boss, and he's laughing, and he told him, don't go with this guy, he will take you to Chipotle all the time. And the fun thing is, in the evening, when we finished the data collection, I asked him again, what do you want to eat? He said, I don't know, you can choose. I took him again back to the Chipotle. So we had Chipotle for lunch and dinner. Yeah, I really love it, but I just don't consider the fast food.
But I guess, like you said, also, you said you'd eat rice and meat. So it's kind of the same, right?
Exactly,
pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah. What's your favorite Tanzanian dish?
Ndizi nyama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ndizi nyama.
What's the one surprising thing you've learned about yourself in the past year?
Well, do I have anything? Maybe I'm easy to forgive. I would think that way. Yeah, I was like, I've been tested a lot the past year, and all I could do is just, forgive and move on, Yeah. So I guess I'm very easily to forgive.
That's good.
I don't know if I forget though. So
it's good for your soul to keep it light. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. What's the one thing you can't live without?
Reading my Bible.
Yeah.
I do read my Bible every single day, in the morning, the evening. And actually right now, the Bible app that I'm using is called YouVersion. She used to call YouVersion, but right now it's just, if you try to download it, it's just say Bible. They do have these verses of the day every day. Before they used to post like just the verse, so you can just read it. But right now they incorporate some small script of someone who is trying to describe the word and how it touches their lives and stuff like that, which is really, really useful. And on top of that, they do ask some follow-up question. They will ask you stuff like, what do you wish happened to you in your life? And they'll have multiple answers that you can select from, and then you select that, which I find it very, very cool and very, very helpful to keep us focusing on what God wants us to do in our life.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I think faith keeps us grounded, right?
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, that's very true. And I hope everyone will do that.
Yeah, in their own way, I'm somebody who is very spiritual, and I very much believe, and we discussed this, that that when you are connected to the highest power, God, which is, He's so abundant in love and in mercy, then you are so okay with whatever happens in life, because it's between you and your God. And you get this calmness and contentment that I believe nothing else can give me.
That's true. Yeah, you put it very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
If you could switch lives with one person for a day, who would it be and why? Any person from the past.
My mom. Yeah, my mom. Yeah. She's a very cool person.
Yeah.
I love her heart. She's a very down-to-earth person I ever met in my life. I think I even inherit some of my character from her. She's so ready to help whenever anyone calls. She's a God-fearing woman. She loves helping people. I don't know how to put this, but I wish I could be her for a day and just feel what it feels to be her, and imagine all that I'm doing every day, and I feel content doing that.
Yeah, imagine how wonderful she must be feeling inside to be able to constantly be doing that. Yeah, you're right. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, so would you pick, I'm gonna say, money or love?
Money is good because the financial resources could give you so many opportunities and alleviate a lot of stresses, but I'll go with love. Yeah, I'll go with love. It's much more than just the material thing that I could get from money. Yeah.
So we're gonna end with a podcast. I want to ask you one question, okay? And you answer it however you like, with whatever your imagination can. There's no limit. So if you had to combine two animals to create a mythical hybrid with magical abilities, okay, which animals would you choose, and what would be the unique power of your new creature?
Okay. Just for the starter, I'll start with the dog.
Okay.
And then I'll be the second animal. What animal do I like? I don't know. Do I have a second animal that I like? Can I combine two dogs or no?
Yeah.
I just love dogs.
You love
I just love dogs. And the reason why I'm trying to get some other animal to put in and I cannot is when I was growing up, when I was around 7 years old, we moved to a different neighborhood, and the landlord had a dog, a white one, very cute. And that dog will always be waiting me at the same spot every time I'm coming from work, from school. And that dog will be there and will come to me, just jumping around every single day. So I used to think, actually I'm not, I know for sure that dogs have very highly respect manner that I think we cannot trade it off. So
You know, it's interesting. I have a dog as well that I've had for 5 years. He's a golden retriever.
Nice.
And he is, I believe that he's got something in him that I also have two cats, but my dog is very different from my cats.
Okay.
He's very loyal, and like you said, it's all they want is love, you know?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
So I'm
true.
gonna ask.
They don't get tired of it. That's
Yeah.
the fun part.
They don't.
Yeah.
They're something else, you know?
That's
Yeah.
true.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you one more then.
All right.
If you could time travel and have a 1 hour conversation with any historical figure, okay, anybody, actually, it doesn't matter, but in exchange, you would have to live without one of the senses, your senses. So either your hearing, your sense of touch, your ability to see for a year. Which historical figure would you choose to meet, and which sense will you be willing to give up and why?
I'll go with Nelson Mandela, first of all, because we do share a birth date.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was born in July 10th. He was born in July 10th, and I was born in July 10th as well. But sometimes I can hardly understand how was he managed to be that person that can forgive people regardless of what they have done to him, you know. So I don't know, maybe I will try it with him. What sense do you have? I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
If you had to give up one sense of yours to be able to go and speak to him, which sense would you give up?
Maybe vision, because I don't really want it.
Really?
I just want to hear him.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll just talk to him and I can hear him well. And no, this is the person I choose, right? It's not like random people come, just one person,
just
right?
him,
Yeah, I don't need to see him. I can just listen to what he has to tell me. Yeah.
And I think, you know, just to wrap up such a beautiful, wonderful conversation, you know, your life has changed so much and you've gone through so much. And I, sorry. So just to wrap up, you know, you've gone through a lot in your life, and I would love to know if you could go back to 10-year-old self, 10-year-old Festo, and tell him three things, three pieces of advice, you know, what are the three things you would tell him?
That's a very good question. I'll tell my 10-year-old Festo to put so much effort into learning stuff, to love everyone, to respect one another, and most importantly, to make sure they do what they love.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason for that is if you met a person that love everybody, respect them, it's very hard for you to find a fault in them. We are all human beings. We are not perfect. We can do mistake, but 9 out of 10, he won't be doing stuff purposely. He'll just be doing anything wrong unknowingly, not because they choose to do it. And that, I think, is the foundation of being a great person in the world. This is what I'm thinking, you can get all the success you want in life, material thing. You can build houses, you can build large buildings out there, you can have so many companies running and all that. When you die, there's high chance that people won't remember any of that. But how you treat people and how you live with them, and the legacy that will live on forever from you. So
I like that, and it's so true. I do believe that at the end of the day, it's how many people's lives you've influenced, and you've touched. So thank you, Festo, for the wonderful conversation. We've had so many wonderful conversations over the last 2 days. I think sometimes I always say people meet for a reason. You've inspired me in so many ways. Your hard work, your dedication to yourself, to your community, and just please, can you tell people where they can find a little bit more about your NGO, Upendo Kwanza, and how they can help?
First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's an honor to be here and even give me this platform to at least tell people who I am, and at least they can get a little bit of what kind of person I am. So for Upendo Kwanza, we do have a website. You can actually go to www.upendokwanza.org, and right there you can get all the information about us. We do have 2 projects that we're running on right now. The first one is Kisimiri project, as I explained before. It's where I went for my A-level studies, and I really wanted to help people because of all the challenging that they're facing in their daily life at school. And we do have another project that we started. It's called Kilimanjaro Climbing Challenge, that we are planning to go and climb the mountain starting on October 22nd through 29th. And the reason for that is we do want to show that people in Kilimanjaro are well blessed with the mountain, but the mountain can actually do more than just giving the employments to the locals that they can go and support their families, but also we can do some wonderful event, a once in a lifetime event like climbing the mountain to give education. And we are hoping to collect all the profit that we get out of it to fund the education to all the children that will be living in Kilimanjaro. So our plan right now, our goal is to raise at least $300,000, and we'll use that money to support 300 students. And we have a very good plan of helping them. We are planning to offering them after classes tutoring, which will be hosted in the terms of 4 hours of tutoring every week, in a total of 16 hours in a month. And that will be offered by a company called Silabu. And then we also wanted to make sure that they'll get a very good foundation of the academic, because we are planning to give them all the necessary resources that they will need. For example, if they need, they cannot afford stationaries, we can provide them with whatever kind of stationery they want, whether it's a book, it's a pen, or it's anything, as well as uniforms if they want to. And we will also try to see if there's any student or children that their home is not so conducive for those children to prosper in their education. If there's a way that we can help them to get into boarding school, we'll do that as well, to make sure they can get all the good environment that they want, to make sure they'll succeed in their life. So that information as well, you can find it there. We do offer 3 packages right now. There's a student package that we sell it for $2,000, and we contribute 500 out of it to go toward the cause. We do also have another package is for adult, which is 2,500, and that will use 700 will go direct to the charity. And then we do have one package for corporate, which has way more benefits in there, that we sell it for 5,000, and we'll take 2,500 out of it, and it goes direct to the charity. Yeah. Any other information, they're out there. You can also email us if you have any question, and we'll be glad to answer any kind of question that you might have.
Festo, I hope life is even more beautiful for you. The future is continuing to be bright. I know that you will continue to change the lives of so many people. And I look forward to seeing all these great advances and achievements in your life. So thank you for being here. It's been such a pleasure to have such a wonderful conversation with you and learn a little bit about you and how you're changing the lives of people.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity once again, and I still surprised to know what kind of person you are. I wasn't expecting this. This is much more than what I actually thought you'd be, but you're a down-to-earth person, very humble, regardless of all the success that you have. And I wish people out there, they can get at least a glimpse of what kind of person you are and how eager you are to make sure that you give back to the community as you're doing right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you too.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.